Hi there, this is Robin from Skeleton Notes, and this is part 3 of my series on vegan watercolour. So just to recap, the first part was an introduction, talking a little bit about vegan ethics and how not to be an arsehole, as well as why you might be interested in vegan watercolour. The second part was on the paint itself. And today is part 3, and we will be looking at paper. So I was vegan for several years before I started doing watercolour, and it was a bit of a surprise to me to find out that paper was something that might not be vegan. Like, who knew? It's paper. But anybody who does watercolour already, or any type of art, you know that there's lots of different papers out there, and a watercolour paper isn't necessarily your standard printer paper or newspaper paper. It's got its own qualities, it's made in its own way. So what is it about a paper that would make it not vegan? It's fairly simple. It's only one thing that we have to really be concerned about. It's not like paint where there's a few different ingredients. But with watercolour paper, you may be familiar with the fact that the different types of paper have got different qualities when you're working on them, and will give you different results. So you might choose to have a hot press paper, a smooth paper, instead of a cold press or a rough finished paper, because you want a different texture, you want a different finish to your painting. Or you might want a very heavyweight paper. So the paper I generally work on is 300, looking for an example here, 300 GSM. So it's got some flexibility to it, but it's still fairly thick. It holds its shape, it doesn't wrinkle too much. Whereas some people might like much heavier, a 400 GSM, which is almost like card, but still has the quality of watercolour paper. And we look as well for things like, is it made from wood pulp, or is it made from cotton rag? And cotton rag is often seen to be a superior type of watercolour paper. It's often easier for the paint to move over, and how quickly water is absorbed into the paper is different, so you get different effects from it. And it's those qualities that we're looking for which lead to the use of something called sizing. So sizing is an extra element which is added onto a product, in this case paper, either when it's being made, when all the fibres are being meshed together, or as a coating that's put on top. And a sizing is used to change the quality of how things like water and pigment dry and react on the paper. So some sizings will mean that your watercolours move really smoothly across the paper, and they take a very long time to sink in, so you have a lot of working time. And less sizing means that it sits a bit more into the paper, and a lot of it is personal preference of what you like. Now, the issue for me as a vegan, or other people as a vegan, is that the most common sizing used is gelatin. And if you're not aware, gelatin is made from boiling bones and the marrow of animals, and the proteinous mixture that comes out is gelatinous. That's what's traditionally used to make jelly. And that slight film-like layer that you get from gelatin when it's thinly coated and thinly watered down over the top of a paper or mixed in, offers a slight water-resistant layer. So won't completely repel your water. but it does mean that you get more movement on the surface of your paper and it sinks into the paper a little bit less quickly. And sometimes that's fine if that's what you want and you're not bothered about using gelatin, it's fine. But if you are vegan, you should keep in mind that gelatin is a really common sizing agent in papers. Now, the difficulty is a lot of manufacturers will not tell you what they use for sizing, because while gelatin is the traditional and most common, there are other products which can be used, synthetic products which can be used, or some papers just don't have sizing at all. But a lot of manufacturers are very secretive about the exact methods they use, sometimes because it's a traditional process which has been used by the company for literally hundreds of years and they keep it very guarded. And sometimes it's just because it's proprietary information and that's just what the industry's like. But it does mean that when you're looking to buy paper, it can be difficult to know what the sizing is on things. So do read labels as closely as you can, look on websites, go on company websites. I would highly recommend Jackson's Art, their blog. If you search on Jackson's Art website, and I'll put a link in the description, for vegan paper, vegan watercolour paper, they have got a blog talking about it and it mentions several brands. It's not comprehensive. There are a few I know of which aren't listed there. I think they just came out, became available or became known as vegan after the blog post was made, but it's still a really good starting point, so I highly recommend that. But otherwise, you really need to do some homework, really looking into websites and the FAQs on websites, even emailing them, which can be very frustrating. However, there are a number of companies which definitely do use sizing. So Veganuary, Archers, and Veganuary and Archers are the two I definitely know use them. Use gelatin sizing, so I try and avoid those. I've got some here, the Cardi papers. So I got these thinking they were unsized. I was incorrect. They have an internal sizing, meaning the gelatin was put into the mixture when the paper is being pressed together instead of it being put on as a coating. But these do contain gelatin, and I own them. So, you know, I lose some vegan points for that, but I make mistakes, people make mistakes. But now you know, so you can avoid that if you want to. What other, there's a few others, I believe Moleskine does, they use gelatin, and it's fun. I can't remember the names of those who do because I avoid them. So I know the ones that don't, more important. So one brand you can use is Bockingford. I have this sketch pad which is full. I love the sketch pad. I'd really like another one. I like the wire band. They do a number of different types of pads and blocks and loose paper. I work an awful lot on the hot press paper in the A4 size. I get a lot of their blocks and really enjoy working on those. So I would recommend Bockingford. They're not 100% cotton. Some of them are 50% cotton and some of them are wood pulp. So do keep that in mind if you've got a strong preference as to the composition of your paper. But they are very good value and good. I find them enjoyable and good quality to work on. Another paper I would recommend is Veganuary. They're a relatively new brand, I think, on the watercolour scene. They've been doing papers for a long time. They've only started to become popular in the watercolour world in the past few years, but Veganuary watercolour paper, particularly the Cézanne paper, I've tried and tested and really enjoy. That is 100% cotton rag paper. It's a very good quality. It's lovely to work on. I would show you some of the pieces I've done on that, but I sold them. And I really want to get hold of more of that. What I have got as from Hannah Moulet is a sketchbook. I just was being careful where I opened that to, because the page I opened it on was from a life drawing class, and I'm not sure if the model would be happy with me flashing that on the screen. But you can see the quality of this paper, and this isn't 100% cotton either. And this is a beautiful little sketchbook. So Hannah Moulet, really good brand, really enjoyable paper to work on. And they have a lot of different finishes and styles, and you can get sketchbooks, loose paper, blocks, all sorts from them. So I definitely recommend them. And then last but not least, for when I'm doing larger paintings, I tend to go for these. So I like to buy full-size sheets of watercolour, and that's full-size imperial, which is a really odd measurement. It's in inches. I can't remember. Oh, hang on, it might say on the label. It does not say. It's roughly A2. Let's leave it at that. And this is Fabriano Artistico. You can buy it in loose sheets, in smaller sheets, in blocks as well. But I just like to go and buy a full sheet of it from my local art shop. So I've got it. I need to flatten this out because obviously it's in a roll at the moment. But this is beautiful quality paper. It's 100% cotton rag. It's got I buy the hot press. It's lovely and smooth. I really enjoy it. I do a lot of my abstract work on it, so the flow and the water control on it is really good. And again, Fabriano is available in a number of different formats. You can get hot press, cold press, rough finish, blocks. I'm not sure if you can get sketchbooks, but you can get like gummed pads, as well as the big sheets and smaller sheets. It's quite widely available. So they are some of the paper brands I would recommend people use, suitable for various budgets as well, and for different styles of painting. Do keep in mind that it's difficult to tell if they use gelatin as a sizing or not. You do really have to do your homework, unfortunately. It can be quite frustrating going through all the FAQs, all the about pages and things, and you just want to find out what their sizing is, and they are often not very forthcoming with that. So if you do know of another brand of paper which is gelatin free, please share it below. I would be delighted to know. I'm sure other people as well would be. But all is not lost. We have got some really good quality papers available. And if, like me, you do sometimes make a mistake, it happens. We're not perfect. Sometimes we make mistakes. I'm going to keep on using this paper because I don't have a lot of money. I can't afford to just go out and buy replacement paper and waste bits. It's possible I might be able to trade it with somebody in the studio. If they happen to have like a Bockingford pad or some Hannah Moulet, maybe they'd be willing to trade. But for now, I'm making the most of the materials I've got because I don't want to waste them. Other people are going to differ on that. That's okay. If you do make a mistake, don't beat yourself up. We all do. If you decide it's just not a concern for you, that you don't mind using stuff which has got gelatin in, or because of your budget or what's available, that's okay too. But if it is something that's important to you, or if it is something that you would like to try and keep in mind when you're doing your art, I hope this helps and gives you a few choices and has helped you know what you're looking for. Okay, so thank you for joining me for this. Again, yes, I will be back for video number 4, which is going to be on brushes. So I will see you in that video. Bye bye.